In 2012, the Baltimore City Police conducted over 123,000 stop and frisk interactions with people on the streets of Baltimore. Only 90,000 were input into a required police database for analysis. Out of those 123,000 stops, only 9 guns and 1 knife were retrieved. How would you feel if you were one of the 122,990 innocent people who were stopped, detained, questioned, and then frisked by the police? How would you feel if in the eyes of the law you were viewed first and foremost as a criminal, a crook, or a person likely to commit a crime and become a statistic? How would you feel about the police? About yourself? Well, for many, this is reality. For some, this is a normal occurrence in daily life. Normal? Normal to be considered a criminal who needs to be stopped and frisked simply because of their race? So what is racial profiling? Is it an action? Is it something that someone does naturally? Is it even all that bad? All of these questions are good and appropriate when trying to understand this modern, controversial topic. According to dictionary.com, the official definition for racial profiling is the use of race or ethnicity as grounds for suspecting someone of having committed an offense. When someone uses race to suspect another type of person of a crime or having criminal tendencies. Many races have been labeled with racially motivated impressions or suspicions throughout American history. Some can be positive, but most are negative. Suspicions and profiling of blacks likely developed in the post-slavery civil rights era. Profiling of Hispanics has increased during the past decade due to the heated debate over immigration, and Arabic profiling exploded after the events of September 11, 2001. Many types of people may be suspected of criminal activities for many different reasons, and by law, people can think and suspect anything they want to. But it is when those thoughts become actions, based on unfounded suspicions, that it becomes harmful to other people. The most known and used racial profiling action or tactic is a law enforcement practice known as stop and frisk. Stop and frisk is when a law enforcement officer stops you, questions you, and then does a search or frisk throughout your clothing and body looking for contraband such as guns, drugs, and knives. The statistics presented earlier were about recent stop and frisk data in Baltimore, but another major city where stop and frisk is even more rampant and controversial is New York City.
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound.
According to the New York Civil Liberties Union, the NYPD recorded that last year alone, 532,911 New Yorkers were stopped, and about 89% were completely innocent. Out of that over 500,000 people stopped, 55% were black, 32% were Hispanic, and only 10% were white. So it is clear that the minority groups of Hispanics and blacks are being targeted significantly more than whites when it comes to being stopped and frisked during the past decade. The New York Civil Liberties Union and many others see it as a problem that since 2001, blacks are stopped the most frequently, then Hispanics, and then white. But Fox News disagrees and buys into one of the biggest myths about stop and frisk, that selection is completely random without bias.
Are cops targeting certain groups? Are they looking specifically for minorities and stopping and frisking them? I believe the commissioner said no, they're not doing that. They're stopping and frisking anyone that they feel is suspicious, and they're doing it. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Latino, just you're going to get stopped and frisked if they have a suspicion. It's not profiling if that's the case. And
the fact that some believe stop and frisk is not based on racial profiling is incorrect. The official definition of profiling is using personal characteristics to make generalizations about a person. For an officer to develop a suspicion in the first place, he has to observe something, whether it be a racial factor or not. Fox News defends their myth by going on to say that there is an even pick of races for stop and frisk.
as long as you're not profiling, you're not specific, you're keeping an even pick on who you're stopping and frisking. I think they're going to be okay with it, especially.
But statistics show that isn't true. The 87% of blacks and Hispanics versus the 10% of whites is not an even pick. Fox News then goes on to state another false claim about stop and frisk. The victims of the tactic actually want or benefit from it.
You have people who live in these so-called bad, poor neighborhoods that Mayor Bloomberg was talking about there, that they're actually against the judge's decision.
Oh,
because
yeah. Well, it's made their
ultimately they're trying to work hard to probably move out of these neighborhoods for the most part, and they want it to be safe.
This is yet another myth used to change people's perspective on stop and frisk to make it look beneficial, despite the facts that show it's ineffective. The New York Times asked several people from each borough how they felt about the policy. They each had something different to say based on their experiences. Dominique Riviera, a 19-year-old fast food server who lives in Manhattan, said,
I had a couple of officers that told me, you see this? I can do whatever I want. And that doesn't mean nothing. Okay, I see a badge, but it's like we're not supposed to be scared of them. We're not supposed to be afraid of them. We're supposed to actually feel like we're safe around them.
Brenda Ricketts, a senior social worker in the Bronx, said,
My son, who's 31, has been stopped multiple times. I believe they're stopping the wrong people. They've also stopped my nephew, who relocated out of New York because he was traumatized, threw him against a wall.
Kendall Huntley, a 33-year-old construction worker in Brooklyn, said,
I've been stopped walking with my dog. I've been stopped riding on a bike. I've been stopped just because they want to race you, profile you. I've been stopped because they got a quota to meet. I mean, the police do what they want to do.
Then there was Jacqueline Miller, a 46-year-old school aide in Queens. Jacqueline was one of the 3 people out of the 17 interviewed that believed stop and frisk was effective.
We hear the African American and Hispanic society complaining about it. The white people don't complain. You stop me, you stop me. Give me a ticket, frisk me, do what you got to do. It's a difference of how everybody looks at it. I'm sure there's a lot of white teenagers that get pulled over and stopped.
One possible reason for her different view on the policy is most likely because of her experiences. She cannot relate to the perspectives of the other interviewees. So, despite what Fox News says, it is clear that the majority of New Yorkers do not agree with the stop and frisk tactic, and this can be backed up with first-hand accounts from the people of each borough. The final myth about racial profiling is that it is harmless and is just used to keep society safer.
Seizure. Just on the face, it's not really a search, it's a quick pat down. It's not a seizure, you're not really seizing the person, it's just a very momentary stop.
Well, aside from stop and frisk, racial profiling has contributed to the loss of many lives over the past few decades and throughout history. In this past year, police took the lives of 304 people during various interactions, and United States citizens committed another 313 race-based murders. Many were cleared by stand-your-ground laws, which make simple fear a sufficient justification to kill. What if a person's race is the only factor that the shooter found scary? Many people who are now seen as statistics, such as Trayvon Martin, killed in Florida, Renish McBride, killed in Detroit, Kimani Gray, killed in New York, and many others, have been taken because of race-based suspicions and extreme actions committed not only by law enforcement, but by United States citizens taking justice into their own hands. The essential question is whether stop and frisk is an effective tactic given the evidence of racial profiling. And is there a way that police can be effective without using race alone? In an interview conducted with Lieutenant Michael Murphy, a Montgomery County police officer in the state of Maryland, he seems to have an answer to this question.
Yes, and sometimes you know about a neighborhood that might be a drug-related neighborhood, and you may realize that after certain hours there may be drug activity that's going on, and then you're going to be looking for people that are maybe circling the neighborhood and maybe looking like they're out of place, like they don't know where they're going, and often times it would be an indicator that there may be something that that person's up to no good.
It was then asked if racial profiling has ever been unsuccessful.
Yeah, there's many times, like if there's been, you stop people and you have a belief that there's something that may be going on and maybe you're wrong, and so you have to immediately document the reason why you had contact with that person and let them go.
Well, if it is unsuccessful so many times, then why does this practice keep occurring? Why do these false suspicions keep occurring? At what point do the police officers have a responsibility to respect and protect the rights of the good, law-abiding, innocent citizens, regardless of their race and ethnicity? Well, what do you think? Does the stopping need to stop?
That's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the beast. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the beast.